Good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, December 13th, 2018. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES, and you'll notice here that the ES is still holding above 2-month lows, above the previous month's low here, and continues to hold after Monday's rejection day. Again, I mentioned before that price can theoretically hold in this zone, test this area for the next 2 or 3 days before a decisive continuation or failure occurs. And so again, we're not out of the weeds here for the upside move, but we are still holding and continue to exhibit conditions here that suggest that we could push higher back toward those targets that we've been looking toward. So again, we're still not out of the weeds. We could easily see a stop run day through the 26.21 to 26.15 zone. That's that 5-point area, the 16 to 21 zone, that 5-point area we talked about on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and now Thursday. And again, as long as that area holds intact, we could theoretically drop into it, perhaps even drop below it today and then close back above, and that would be a failed new low that could lead to a sharp reaction back up. So far price continues to hold in a bullish structure, but it hasn't run away with it to the upside just yet. It is clearly seeing some overhead resistance at the 8-period average, and again, a failed absorption signature could occur where price could see a stop run day down through 26.16, 26.15. So that's the area to really watch here. And again, we're quite a ways off that area right now, so to drop into that zone would be a big deal. But bulls could come in and defend yet again for a shot at seeing, again, just a near-term bounce back toward upside targets between 27.25 and 27.60. So somewhere in this zone could still be reached down the road as long as price continues to hold these key levels below. So again, it's still in play to see a continuation and a bounce, but it is clear that right now, especially after these major sell-offs from the 2800s here, that this is a zone here that is making bulls uncomfortable. It is a pullback that appears to be perhaps a lower high, and we could easily see a failure that leads to a major move down. Now, if there were a failure, though, it would have to be the failure. It would, if it were to break through 26.15s and really lead to a failure, then it's going to have to go much lower. It's going to have to come test the lows of the year because there's nothing else left below. There's nothing else. This is a major LVN here, 2600, a key level. Prices at and below it have been defended all year long. If it fails here, it has to come down and test the year's lows. Whether that happens now, whether it happens just after the new year, who knows? And we still may get this level. Even if we do bounce toward the end of the year, we still may come down here and tag those lows sometime after the new year. So again, we're not out of the woods on that either. But again, this is a zone that's very tricky right now. But as long as price continues to hold the 16 to 21 zone, we have an upward, a near-term, short-term upward bias. And I would say if the upward bias does play out, take the money and run. Just take because every single rally has been short-lived ever since we've had the sell-off, and I'm not expecting anything to really bust through those highs at this point. But again, if this thing does pop up like we expect, take the money and run. Otherwise, we could be looking at a failure ahead. So again, very key point here for the ES. If you look at the NQ, very similar price action right now, attempting to hold recent lows. This one did not take out last month's low, but did return nicely off of the 6600 level. It is higher again day over day. Today it's spent a lot of overnight and pre-market trading above yesterday's midpoint. That's usually bullish. We have an inside day right now in the upper end of last session's range. All of that suggests that we could see more upside, but clearly we got to get some acceptance above 68.50. Above that level opens up clear air back towards 7K, 70.50, and again we have lower highs here. So if this thing does pop into that zone, I'd be looking to take some profits ahead of what could be another rotation back down. So again, can the markets continue to hold? We will see. Any pullback could still be bought unless this thing can't hold, say, 66.50, Failure to hold 66.50 could open up another round of weakness. If we take a look at the RTY chart right now, the Russell 2000, one thing I find bullish about this chart is, again, nearly tested the year's lows on the futures. On the actual ETF, it did take out the year's lows, but you can see right here, this is 2-month lows right in that zone, right? And now price has traded completely below those 2-month lows for the last week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days here, trading mostly below that low, but not really extending the move yet. And to me, that looks like late sellers may get trapped, and any push here above 1466, 1470 starts to open up a stop run that can return prices back toward 1530 to 1550. So it could be, again, another bullish squeeze here if these late sellers do not get paid. So again, will the stops come out and will we get a move? Perhaps so. If so, take the money and run. We have lower highs coming into play, clear downward sloping channel, and again, we got to see if price can get back above those 1465 to 1470 zone. If we take a look now at crude oil, you'll notice here that crude, again, seeing another round of weakness here, selling pressure back toward 50.35 on a low for the day. Again, I've been a little curious as to why this hasn't really dropped and really taken out those lows after seeing lots and lots of sellers come in to defend the trigger zone here in a downward sloping market. In most cases, that would lead to a very swift drop right away, and instead we're seeing mostly a hold pattern, mostly a sideways range, very tight compression here. And I would say that if all of these sellers here who have been very heavily defending this move, if they don't get paid, the upside stops can come out and we could see a rather big squeeze. Now again, we haven't been able to see a squeeze in this chart in quite some time. It has not demonstrated an ability to pop higher from these levels, but when you have a lot of sellers coming in here and price really isn't going down too much, that's when you start to see perhaps a run for the exits and a stop run occur. Again, it would take a push above 55s to really get this thing going higher. We got a sideways range right now, and price is sitting right on the previous month's close price. And if that level can't really get breached here at some point, I would imagine that perhaps you start to see some sort of squeeze come into play. So again, very difficult here for crude as it's been mostly sideways. Very curious how quiet and tight this range has been. At some point, we may see expansion. Taking a look now at gold futures, you'll notice here gold continues to hold near highs. And finally seeing a test of the 8-period average below. I mentioned before that this thing has broken to the upside here. You've gotten a nice rise out of the 8-period average, but price had never tested it until today, and it's holding right at the 1245 level. And so again, the 1245 to 1250 zone has been very important, and price has traded right there at that area. And so far, this market has been bullish in terms of being able to withstand every pullback, being able to form higher lows, and even marching through several near-term resistance levels. I mentioned before that even if we get a pullback as deep as 1225, 1226, it could still be a great buying opportunity for a run into 1287 to 1300. So again, testing that 8-period average here, bulls coming in to defend that zone. If price can continue to hold that area, again, do we get another quick rise or do we fail below 1240? Failure to hold 1240 opens up another pullback. Each pullback has been bought so far, and so again, this remains a bullish commodity at the moment, but really hasn't run away from it just yet. So we're going to continue to watch this as well. All right, that is it for now. We will see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room.